Welcome to the
That's North Korea.
What?
You didn't hear about that?
So if you,
No?
North Korea is sending balloons of shit down over the border to South Korea.
That's awesome. Did they light them on fire and once they hit the border?
I don't know. All I
The
know
Adam
is that
Sandler way?
they
just
had it.
go stomp them out. Everyone's stomping out. Oh no, it's shit
had-
again.
You called the shit poop.
Well, they had a press conference, and one of the guys from Task and Purpose is in the press conference, and he asks, "Did the U.S. retaliate by sending bags of shit back across the 38th parallel?" And the poor lady up there, she kept her cool. She's like, "No, I don't think so."
I don't think we did.
Too bad.
No, we should just
opportunity.
literally just tell the people at the Porta Johns we'll dump them. We'll dump one of those from the cop match that was at the brim. That's what we need to do. Anyways, welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your host Tomas the Boss Fernandez. Joining you with the store behind. Joining me tonight. He ran into the missionaries on the street and they said, "Sir, we can help get your life back on track." He responded, "The track ain't open today." It's Robert Wyatt.
I got nothing. Jeez.
And he's been signed a top priority case to stop the upper decker bandit. Someone must stop toilet tanks from being defecated in, and the man to do it is Jared Stepp.
Joke's on them, it's me.
Grabs it, squeezes it. Nope.
This is the upper decker of Dexter.
Takes a bite and a sniff. He's close.
I know that turd.
He's close. This is him. So anyways, yesterday after I got in a car accident, if you want to hear about the car accident or not, Patreon. Anyways, I went out with Alex, and I was like, all right, I haven't shot in a couple months. We're going to go out there. We're going to go do some shooting. So I took a gaggle of handguns with me, a Glock 34, nothing new, my old Gen 3 Glock 34, but I had the Vortex Defender ST mounted on there because that's a deep Delta Point Pro slide. So I put that on there, drilled it on, got everything going. And
goddamn.
Yeah, I Jared stepped it. That's what I did. I was like this.
Delta Point Pro slide if you just use a drill.
That's more than Ugga Dugga if you're just drilling it onto it.
You know,
that's
Jared
called a Troy Morgan.
Jared has a breaker bar. You know, like when you're changing tires, you have a breaker bar, to help loosen those lug nuts off, because you just don't have enough leverage. And and so I got the breaker bar on it, and I Jared stepped it on there.
Deepwater Horizon now. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if the torque wrench doesn't snap in the middle, it ain't tight enough, right? So anyway,
it's probably gonna come off.
So I go out there and I'm messing around with it, and it zeroed up pretty easily on there, and for $250 or $300, which you get it's a pretty good optic, because what it does well is it gives you kind of like a little bit larger than an RMR in width. So I would say not as much as a Delta Point, definitely not as much as an SRO or anything like that. But it gives you a little bit less than the 507 comp in width, but gives you like 507 comp in height. It kind of seems like when you're behind the thing.
It's very tall. It's very tall, which is typically where most people lose the dot at. And so I would much rather have a taller optic than a wider optic. And honestly, I don't really get, like, I've shot the Maxes in the Romeo 3X or whatever XL. And it's like, I don't need like wider. That's not going to help.
Normally that helps more than the length. But
are we talking about girls or dicks?
No, we're talking about Pride Month, you son of a bitch. I don't want to hear anything about straight sex for the whole month. Don't say it. Okay?
All butt stuff and scissoring.
That's what happened after you got rear-ended.
We were doing sidekicks next to each other, and one thing led to another. Anyways, so
GTI on GTI abomination.
Just remember, Tommy, it's not gay unless you push back.
Unless you push back.
Alvidasen, motherfuckers.
So I was sitting there like messing around with it. It's like, it's great. It's a fantastic optic. And would I recommend it probably over a Delta? Like, I don't know, like maybe on that same footprint, I would probably say like the Delta,
over a Delta Point.
The one thing about the Delta Point that has like the emitters and everything else like that, top notch, glass is great. And no one on earth, even Vortex included, will ever beat Loophole customer service. Like Loophole customer service is the best in the industry. It's what everything should be judged off of. It's fantastic. And so I still got some strong brand loyalty to the Loophole, but if I had to spend the same price on each one, I'd buy the Loophole. If not, the Vortex Defender ST. Like it doesn't have the emitter problems. The dot is actually present on the entire screen, unlike the regular Defender. And I don't know if they retrofitted those to give them an actual emitter and be able to be usable on the entire screen. But it is a really good optic. All right, if you're looking for something that's more carry oriented on the Delta Point footprint, then I would highly recommend it over the Delta Point.
All I'm saying is that the Delta Point started the whole gay pride thing a long, long time ago. Whenever they came out with that Delta Point Pro optic, one big ass button, it's got ridges on it, and you just press it a whole lot. And it's like, yeah, just hit the prostate like that. Do it a lot. And it's just, I hate that about the Delta Point. I would never own a Delta Point just because of the button system, because that is so stupid.
Yeah, that's the one thing you have to live over. And the ST has a power up that is very good. I actually like it over than the RMR because
it's bright.
And it gets super bright and has a power down on the other side. The adjustments are pretty easy on it. The one thing that the Delta Point has on it is the adjustments on the Delta Point are the best. You put a 9mm piece of brass on there, one click over.
Both Chad and I are like,
talked about adjustments were shit.
No. The zeroing adjustments on the back of the Delta Point are good, and obviously the battery changing on the Delta Point is fantastic, even though it eats batteries. But the deck height on the Delta Point is not great because of the battery cover and all that jazz. The deck height on the Vortex as Defender ST, pretty decent. I mean, it's not definitely the lowest or the smallest, but it is a quality. It's reasonable. It's a quality optic.
What I like a lot also with the Vortex, it comes with everything that you need.
Everything.
It has like 10 different sets of screws in there. It has a fancy little doohickey star wrench thing to undo the battery cap, so you don't have to ugga-dugga your awesome. SRO.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it comes with a nice little star wrench for that. It comes with all the screws. If you have a Glock, it actually comes with an MOS plate that's actually good.
A steel MOS plate.
Right. And so it comes with everything from a police standpoint. I've actually been pushing it for our guys because it's very ruggedized. It has the little shock absorption thing on the top. There's a lot that I really like about the optic. It's very bright, very ruggedized, good customer service. It's Vortex. It comes with all the screws. It comes with a mounting plate.
Yep.
It comes with everything that you need to put that on your gun if you have a Glock.
If
you have something else, you have to get another plate, obviously. But it's a very good set.
The instructions will tell you, like basically on the direct milled guns like the P320s and stuff like that. It will tell you will use this set of screws on this, and like if you know anything, like you sit there, look at it, you get like two different lengths of M4 screws depending on what mount you're putting it on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the proper length on those, and then it gives you a couple sets of like 648 screws for the companies that are using a standard thread pitch. Gives you those. They're pre-Loctited. They are T10 Torx. They didn't do any Allen wrench shit on there. I mean, it's
very well thought out.
I would say it's like it's a whole lot of new life into the Delta Point footprint. I mean, like I know the EOTech is probably the E-Flux is probably the worst on that footprint that's out there, but like the Vortex Defender ST on the Delta Point footprint, it is fantastic. So anyways, shot that. We only had one target out there, and we were screwing around shooting some B8s, and we decided to shoot a couple Dickens drills. So 40 yards, 10 shots, under 10 seconds. And last time I went out there a long time ago and I shot that drill, I shot this one SP 2022 and did abysmally because the sights were absolute bullshit. And then I went out there and shot it with these Dawsons on it, and it was like all 10 hits on there, 5 Charlies, 5 Alphas on the target, and I was just like, that's fantastic. What a pleasantly fun and lovely gun. And me and Alex, we shot it like 5 times with like 5 different handguns. We did not miss a single shot out of all those. The only one that I missed some shots were The P2000. And why did I miss some shots
Oh,
on the P2000? Because with the sights perfectly square, it shoots pretty hard left. And so I had to tap over the sights. So they're just a bit over from that side. And so you try to definitely try to figure out if it's you or the gun, and then Alex shoots it and it's pulled in the same group, 2 inches left at like 15
Yeah, but
yards.
you're both right-handed.
Well, yeah, but I can shoot all these other guns and just have them exactly zeroed to where it's gonna go.
Fair.
It's like it's just you can, and then there's always ways that you can like manipulate and pull the trigger to try to influence the gun a little bit more right. And then
Sure.
you do that, and you're just like, was like, well, that's not a bad press, and that's not a bad press, and I shouldn't have to like bend the gun over to do it. So it was.
How many times did Alex have to go to a different gun just to finish the Dickens drill?
good question.
No,
Did he New York reload?
well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
He did not shoot one revolver.
Shame is a
he shot
powerful
two.
agent.
He did no. He's like he's bragging about that ultimate carry J frame, that 32 Magnum J frame, and he's like, oh, and I was like, all right, I'll shoot this. He didn't even bring it. He just brought his pile of Glocks. But one of the best Dickens drills he shot was with the old HK VP9, because that thing is freaking choice. But I was excited to shoot that J frame, but he never brought it. But we might have heard exactly downrange what his 22 sounds like near impact, and the only thing you hear is the impact of the bullet in the dirt when you're
Nice.
downrange. When you're at the muzzle, you hear a whole lot more. But it is interesting when you're a little bit downrange, safely downrange, and you actually get to hear the impact of one of those suppressed like 22 calibers or anything that you have suppressed. The only thing I heard was dirt impact. And it was just like, okay. So
Neat.
then you get the like when you're sitting like as enthusiast or whatever, when you're sitting there shooting it, you're like, oh, this could be a little bit more quiet. It's not as quiet as this. It's not as quiet as this. And then when you actually get 15 yards down range and the only thing you can hear is the dirt impact, because the rest of the sound at the muzzle is being covered up by the impact of the dirt. And it's pretty interesting. So it'd be
The
interesting to hear.
shotgun is one of the cooler ones to hear when it's shooting burst shot suppressed, because it's very quiet. And then if it given enough travel, then you actually hear all the little pellets impacting the back
The
of
angry swarm of bees.
that one's pretty fun to hear.
It would-
And they had it at it was one of their suppressor demo day kind of things. And it was, I don't know, it was like 50 yards out. So you hear the sound of the gun go off. But then it's just like all these like just
Yeah.
that's pretty fun.
No, it'd be interesting to hear like some of the 5.56 cans at like 100 yards away, hear the dirt impact and see what
Your
you
Anthem did a
get.
whole video about that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the one thing too, is like those videos of what it sounds like to be shot at, at different ranges and stuff like that. Like that's pretty interesting. But like what your human ear actually hears is pretty interesting about what it is. And then you're just like, oh, I get like this whole like Vietnam era, Desert Storm era, and even nowadays kind of like that those kind of century guns, and you're just like, okay, like on the muzzle end, suppressors don't seem like they do a whole lot. On the bad guy, on the impact end, it definitely is a changer for sure.
I remember this was obviously a long time ago, but we were out at the farm and we were shooting it was the long bay. It's the 100-yard bay, the pistol bay, whatever. And somebody was down on the rifle portion of the range, and they were shooting suppressed, and you could hear that sonic boom crack like working its way up to you, and then it obviously the loudest point, and then it cracks, but you didn't hear it otherwise. I mean, it's just it's kind of cool, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited because, well, I got really excited. The whole reason me and Alex went out at night is because I got super excited because that USP Tactical was supposed to arrive yesterday, and I was going to get that thing and then zero in its little. Oh my gosh, we shot Alex's Volquartsen top end 22, and he had zeroed that thing with its irons, and it was just impacting perfectly with his rugged suppressor on there. And I was just like, I'm going to get that USP. I am going to fine tune those little adjustable sights on it because Heckler and Koch knows what the hell they're doing when they put out a product. And then I was like, and then maybe like
except for drifting the sights.
you don't drift them. Well, sorry. This P2000.
Yeah,
possibly.
Except for the P2000.
Except for the P2000. It can't help it.
one's
It can't help it. It's in the shadow of the USB. But like just like maybe getting like a rugged can on the end of that USP, I was just sitting there thinking, it was like, man, how freaking fun and awesome would that be?
Right.
It's going to be a cool little experience to sit there
Does
and
it
do
come threaded?
Yeah, the tactical comes threaded. Not only threaded, so you got your ordnance grade steel barrel, which will last forever. It comes threaded. It comes left-hand twist to counteract the rifling inside the barrel. It has the O-ring on the gun, so it seals to the frame every single time. It has their match grade adjustable trigger, so it has a trigger that has an adjustable stop. So after the travel, you can minimize the overbrake. I mean the over travel of the trigger, and it has like lighter sets of springs on it too. It has a recoil spring that's designed to be suppressed. It'll work fine without it. But the other part too is, and it has the adjustable
threading
irons.
On the barrel, because I have a 9mm can.
16,
and I have a bunch of mounts for it.
16 millimeter.
I don't think I have that one.
16 millimeter left-hand thread. So and that's one of the things that HK kind of does is, they'll have a metric thread pitch on it, but they'll have it left-handed. And so Glock, I think, had the same thread pitch when they pushed out some of their threaded barrel models. They had the 16 millimeter left hand on there. And honestly, as far as it comes to like screws and stuff like that, I would much prefer metric screws. I mean, because like a metric machine screw almost uniformly has the same thread pitch everywhere. So if you say so you're not going to find like you're not going to find like a US thread will have like, you can have a 6x32, a 6x40 thread pitch, or a 6x48 thread pitch. So you're just like, and then you go with like an M4 like on a Delta point, and it has the same thread pitch. So an M4 screw is an M4 screw. Like you go to Home Depot and be like, I need some 16 millimeter M4 screws. Like your little, freaking Vortex Defender might have like Phillips heads on the top of it, but you could get through it by just going to Lowe's. And so the metric thread pitch is a little bit better, but I'll be picking it up tomorrow, and I'm excited. It's a great deal. It just came with two 10-round mags, which I'm kind of kicking myself, but I saved like $300 over buying it from somewhere else. And it's all in Coyote Brown slide. And
now you're
slide
ready
and frame.
for IDPA.
Now I'm ready for IDPA. That's right.
It is Pride Month.
It is. I got to get a dot on that thing because it's too gay for IDPA, because even IDPA SSP is 15 rounds now. And I got these two 10-round dry fire mags I guess I'll have for the rest of my life, but whatever. 874 shipped and not 1300.
Are they actually pinned, or are they pinned to 10 rounds, or are they actually, is there a block in there?
The HK magazines are 100%, the USP magazines are 100% polymer. So they are designed to be 10 rounds from the factory and molded as such. So unlike the Glock magazines that had the steel inserts, HK just used a different polymer, a harder polymer, so they would not swell. And they produced those magazines out that way when that was going to be the future. And then
so what, is there just a block of plastic?
My guess is there's probably a block of plastic injected into the magazine, or it could be done on the follower. It could be just a one that only accepts a certain type of follower. So I can go look at it. I don't care. I don't care because the 15-round magazines are $32 a piece, and I'll go spend $200 to get 5 of them and be fine. Like essentially, I got, instead of paying $1,300 or $1,270 for the same pistol, I paid $874, and so like that's the price. Are we gonna all
shoot SSP at IDPA State this year?
Yeah, we can all shoot SSP.
I got an SSP gun.
Yeah, we could all go shoot SSP, and then I can pay another $100 and argue a fair and legal point and not get it. So yeah, we could do that.
Nerd.
Robert, 10 millimeter, any 10 millimeter fly out of the barrel?
No, damn it! I got all busy yesterday, and I was going to go out, and in the end, I put half a ton of dirt all over my yard. So yay for me.
That sounds like my weekend.
Yeah, It's really
Well,
enjoyable.
if anyone's gone missing in the Salt Lake City area, you know why Robert's putting the dirt down. I'm just saying.
I gotta level out that ground. It's craziest thing. Every time you dig a hole, it's always deeper than when you put the dirt back in. I don't know why. You could stack 10 bodies in that thing, it's still going to be lower than the original.
That's
Never
crazy.
figured that out.
Well,
So
you
what-
guys
so-
ever see Hell or High Water?
Nah.
Yes.
Yeah, and like so the two brothers are out bank robbing, and what they do with the cars that they use in the bank robbing, they own a piece of property and they got a bulldozer and they just dig gigantic holes on their property and then drive the cars in and then bury the cars. And like the one thing that never kind of gets explained is like what they do with the volume of dirt, because I think they do it at least like 3 times in the movie. And
Make
last
a
time,
range.
yeah, you make a range and possibly good idea to do that, but like it's just like you sit there and you go through that movie and you're just like, what the hell are they doing with all that extra dirt? That is so much effing dirt that they would have to displace and move somewhere.
That's a dad thought right there. That is 100% a dad thought. We're watching a movie about cops and robbers, and you're over there like,
Chair's like, wait
Where's
a
the-
minute.
where's that dirt going?
Where's that
I
dirt?
could level out my backyard with that.
Well, the other thing about that movie that I found quite disturbing is one of the brothers is having sex with one of the receptionists from a hotel while the other brother's in the next queen size bed, and I'm just like, that was like one of the most disturbing thoughts I've ever had in my life, and I was just like, hey, bro, could you roll over for a second? Like,
Aren't you supposed to put like a towel on the doorknob or something like that? I don't know.
Help me, step bro. I'm stuck.
Jared?
No.
Dude, I didn't do anything.
Oh my gosh.
My class on Saturday got canceled due to low attendance, which was fine by me because I had a bunch of stuff I needed to do anyways. And the last week we do something once a summer. We call it Grandma Camp, where the kids will go off to Grandma's house for a week, and they get to play and have fun with her for a week, and the parents get a week-long vacation from the children. So there were no pants worn the entire week at home, and it was a great time. And we also had to redo the sprinklers. I tore out.
This
was
sounds
not
like a great.
time.
This sounds like a great way. Like I don't know how much sex could bribe me into doing the sprinklers. I don't think there's like, I don't care if there's no kids. I don't care what's going on. I'm not touching those damn sprinklers. I'm
Especially
pretty.
without pants on.
I know, and like the rubble and just the hanging low and the thought that, you know, it might just be a piece of cotton and some denim that protects my lowers when I'm out there doing the sprinklers, but I'm not sure I could sit there and mentally handle it.
Oh, it was a grand old time. There were lots of squirting. And it was just great. So,
Sprinklers as well, right?
I'm talking about sprinklers. What are you?
Wait, what are you talking about, Robert?
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't want to. I
So-
told you guys, nothing heterosexual. It's Pride Month, and we're going to keep it that way. Okay?
Exactly. So, anyways,
All right,
did
great.
that, worked on the backyard a lot, and basically just did a shit ton of yard work, and now everything's good and fixed, and hopefully my yard survives this summer, because the last summer it did not survive, and so we're trying to revive it and giving it a bunch of grass cocaine and all those nice little pebbles of suspicious things and pouring that everywhere, and yeah, so I didn't get a shoot
too
at all.
have a lot of nitrogen in
I know.
bags.
I knew
in
the
places,
joke was
in the
coming,
back
that
of
nitrogen.
U-Hauls.
Yeah.
Robert's over here making bouncing betties.
Don't pan the camera, Robert. We don't want to see Tim McVeigh's picture hanging up on your wall.
That
little
man is a
shrine.
true American hero.
There's a little shrine. Oh man.
Yeah, that'd get
You
awkward,
think
yeah.
about if that actually happened nowadays. Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
Has he-
I
has
want-
he-
I remember
want-
it. I remember it being pretty bad in 1995 too, for some reason. I remember it being really, really bad.
No. Not talking about it being bad. I'm talking about all these guys right now who are posting their fucking Facebook profile pictures to upside down
Upside down
American
flags.
flags.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
those guys would be like, "Yeah, it's a false flag attempt. Wait, no, it's an American hero. Ha!"
Yep. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know They wouldn't know what to do with it. It's one of the craziest. It's one of the craziest things. But like, two is like looking at some of the stuff that was changed. Like all like media products that came around were filmed like right before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened before their release, and all the kind of like drastic changes that happened to those products too. It's just like it's pretty
Remember
interesting.
Spider-Man?
Spider-Man, Metal Gear Solid 2 had an entire thing with the World Trade Centers that was storybook in and
know
mostly
that.
and
wow.
mostly done, and then they had to change it because it came out in I think November of 2001. So like last minute they had to change everything. And the other thing too that's kind of frustrating to me, I'm like looking at all these timelines of when these games came out, and it's like the difference between Metal Gear Solid 1's graphics and Metal Gear Solid 2 and when it was put out and released was 3 years. And now like to get like a sequel to a game you like, it's like, well, it's going to be 7 years. It's going to be 7 years
Well,
to do. It's just ridiculous.
look at the difference in graphics between those games, though. It takes a lot longer to make this bullshit quiet chick with her titties hanging out.
Listen,
Metal Gear Solid 5 was great.
yeah, it
all
was
I
great.
know is like there's a lot of new games out there, but it just feels to me like there are fewer and farther between games that have like really great storylines to them.
Oh, the
Like there's a
writing's
few that are
horrible.
just franchise that are like they'll always be good, right? But a lot of the stuff
Not
like
anymore.
it
No.
just doesn't feel like it's like the whole mentality of people is like this must be multiplayer and like, well, what about the story?
Well, it has-
Screw the story.
It has to be
multiplayer.
open world. It has to be open world multiplayer. Nothing makes sense. Nope.
Yeah,
play
and I
a
don't know how I
game.
feel about that because I'm not a big multiplayer person. I've never really been that way, and I love really great stories like the original the Call of Duties and things like that. They were really great stories and they were fun.
Yeah.
And now it's just like all online multiplayer open world. It's just like I just not my jam. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear Solid. That's right. Sits on right behind my computer. Solid Snake, 12-inch action figure doll from 1998.
How many times has he been
Nuka-Cola
inserted?
Quantum.
Nuka-Cola.
Fallout.
The problem is I saw this reel. This is like when you actually drink a Nuka-Cola, and then it's just this guy projectile vomiting onto the ground. It's just like, yep, that's probably why.
That's the Nuka-Cola Quantum.
Oh man.
Yep. So
Good old
anyways,
Metal Gear. Metal Gear was the best.
I-
I was going on a kick on Metal Gear recently just because of the Garand Thumb video with the PSG one.
yeah.
That was cool. I love
Thinking
that
back
video.
in the day, oh man, PSG one so cool. Sniper Wolf so cool.
Yeah, I still want to have
Those are the first set of pixelated boobies I fell in love with.
the yeah, I got that USP 9mm tactical, which is, you know, they have a USP Metal Gear Solid 2, but that Mark 23 SOCOM. Like, I will
Right.
have a Mark 23 SOCOM. I will never own the Lamb because I do not want to pay $6,000 for some piece of equipment that doesn't work. But a Mark 23 SOCOM,
It's
You know,
cheapable.
a rugged 45 caliber suppressor, and a Surefire X400, you know, with the little light laser combo, I think would be one of the funnest little setups you could have. And it would recoil and shoot, especially with the suppressor and all the balance being super far off. It would be like one of the hardest guns to probably shoot effectively and quick, but it's freaking badass, and it'd sit in the tent with me, keeping me safe. That's for sure.
And that 45 hole's big enough for you to use.
Yeah.
It is Pride Month.
For gay stuff. Yeah, not
Tip's
for
a
anything
tip.
else.
Called docking, gentlemen. Tom's uncircumcised.
Anyway, if you like all other 11 months out of the year, head on over to Dominate Defense. Get yourself the best heterosexual belt in the industry for all your cool shooting needs. This is probably not, who knows if it's approved by Jason, but anyways, here's the commercial. Check them out. Use promo code PARA10. Save 10% off the finest belt, the Mach 1 speed belt, or any one of the concealment belts that you can get. Check it out, dominatedefense.com. Do not get the imitators. Get the original. Get the OG. Dominate Defense. Also, check out W74 guide rods. You want to get a little extra weight in your handgun? You want to get your spring needs met? You need batteries, tungsten batteries. When those bad boys come back in stock, shove a bunch of weight into the front of your blaster because you need it. Unless you're a Shadow 2 owner, you don't need it there, but you can still get it if you want. Nosedive the F out of that thing.
Hey, party in the front, baby.
Party in the front, June in the back.
Sure.
Check it out. Check it out. You can use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off your order. And also head on over to Rune Tactical. Get a +1 for more fun out of your USPSA match. Get a follower spring combination to get your gun to an industry leading, at least tied with the industry leading, 23, 24 rounds in that magazine. Do your best. Have that one extra shot, because slide lock reload on the last shot sucks because you're just taking the penalty. So check him out.
Just like production. Don't have shitty only 15 rounds in the gun.
Only it was 10. Everyone fought for 15. Now you get 15. This is like now it's only 15. It's only 15. Check him out. Rune Tactical.
I know what poverty's like.
Telegram. It's an app. You can download it. You can ask us questions. We'll answer the questions, and then you can find what other one of your friends do not want the government figuring out what application you are and what are you saying. It's the best. Check it out. Telegram, search PARAcast, find it, join us, ask them questions, roll.
And what should we talk about today on the show? Dirk Hopkins says Trump. No. Moving on. From Ron Davison. Last week when you were talking about ace shooting, have you seen the program called Practice Sim on Steam? It allows you to build and test stages in 3D, then shoot them on the clock. It's Windows, Mac friendly, and it's free. Learning curve's a little steep, but it's very promising.
I would subscribe to this channel called Gun Robot, which was a shooter up in Washington. He's a GM open shooter. Not sure of his name, but I would sit there and I would look at it and I would watch that. He used to play this game quite often back in the day, and I think I remember videos back in the day of like Stager training on it, like a little bit. I don't think it's very well supported now. Like I do think the Ace game is way more supported, way more polished, and probably has some more practical uses than
and way more expensive
than the Practice Sim. But as far as building stages and stuff like that, yeah, it could be useful and it could be free. But if you already have, and I think it's for PC too, so you would have to have a VR setup that would interface with your PC, which is probably not as, it's definitely not as freeing as a cordless all-in-one system like an Oculus.
Well, I think there's actually a discount code. Jake Martins with USPSA announced like in the email that if you use you could use a discount the code and it would give you like 20% off of all their stuff for June. I think it was like Pride 4 VR, something like that. I don't know. So I mean, if you want, you could probably go save something.
And if it doesn't work, reach out to Jake Martins and say, the PARAcast told us this would work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do that. Make sure to mention Jared's name.
And save me money on the magazine and stop printing the thing. How about that? Can we do that too?
That's already.
Let's see. Is there something like iTarget laser that makes dry fire more fun? Maybe something that's not popular that needs more light. I find that live rounds make dry fire more fun.
The wet fire is always good.
Yeah.
The problem is with some of the laser
fire.
So you had like the cool fire trainers or whatever like that, which were the CO2 gas cans, which somewhere like move your gun around or whatever. It's like, okay, pass. Then you have like some of the, like the Laser Max products that were kind of for like your grandpa's dry fire, where like he would rack the slide, fire, rack the slide again. Ooh, that's another good shot. I did that right. Rack the slide, fire again.
That reset.
Put a penny on top of your slide.
On top of the front side on the slide. See if it falls or whatever off. I mean, there is a bunch of stuff. The one product that actually seemed like to hold up and that could be somewhat beneficial was not your gun, and that was the CERT gun. The CERT pistols were kind of like the closest thing that you could do it, and they'd actually last for a reasonable amount of time. As far as something that for a handgun that makes the dry fire worth it, I'm not sure, because unless you want to pull 70,000 double action presses, a lot of those training aids kind of don't help you a whole lot for how we would actually dry fire as soon as the trigger goes dead for the rest of them. The other one though is the Mantis for the rifle. That actually possibly is like, it's like $400, but it possibly is a good training solution because it replaces your bolt and your trigger pack, and it self resets, and it has all that kind of jazz with it. And what it can do, I think one of the most beneficial things it can do as far as shooting, it can tell you when you're streaking the gun when you pull the trigger. And I think that's the best thing that happens with the laser products, is that if you're transitioning and you set off the laser while you're transitioning or on a second shot, you can see the laser string if it's moving off the target, or string if it's moving on. And if it's starting to string, that point where the light shows up first is the actual impact of that laser. And so if you are
Right.
having problems transitioning onto or off of targets, that stringing laser would tell you is like you're not stopping the gun appropriately when that's happening. So like something like the Laser Max and all the bullet cartridges for a transition drill could be very helpful for people, because it could, at least on that entering or exiting the target, could help you identify if you're breaking the shots early enough. But it would be a repetition of one press, but it might tell you something for $40.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of gimmicky things for dry fire. In my opinion, all you need for dry fire is a shot timer and a part time. That's it. Set up a very aggressive part time, and you got to get within those part times so you actually stick trying to be aggressive, because that's the biggest problem I see with guys who do dry fire. I see cops who will do dry fire. I'll talk to them about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was doing this, 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 this." I'm like, "Okay, what was were you doing like a time standard or like a part time? How did you know you were doing good?" And "Oh, I just felt it was good. It was smooth. It was smooth. So that means it was fast, right?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't mean that."
It doesn't mean
So the biggest thing I would say is I'm a huge advocate of using part timers for dry fire, and I actually have a pistol. They're very expensive for what they are,
I thought you said it was kind
and
of finicky though.
they are a little finicky. Like mine currently, um, it's not really broken, but one of the parts fell out, and I have a wooden dowel in it instead of that part. One of my friends, who he has two of them, one of his just broke. His just broke as well because he spilled a drink on it, and he's sad. But I mean, they're like $400 or $500. Like, it's expensive, and I don't think they're worth it. I use it as a teaching aid, as a teaching tool. I think there's a place for it for that,
Sure.
and there's some ways to help that. Just because I like demoing with a actual, I'm holding a gun, and I can use a light or I can do a laser, and that's what I use it for. But I wouldn't use it really that much for dry fire. I don't really ever use it for dry fire. Just kind of going back to, everybody has a different gun. If you have a CZ Shadow, why are you dry firing with a gun that's an M&P or a Glock? And that's one of the big things I don't like about the Ace VR game is like, well, I mean, even I shoot 2011s, and now they just came out with their 2011 base. It's like, that's cool and all, but also the trigger is going to be a little different. The sights are going to be a little different. I don't know. If you're going to dry fire, use your gun, use your belt, use your setup. Just set up an aggressive part time. You can work from drawing in on the target. You can work from the draw. There's a million different ways you can do this, but set up some aggressive par times and be like, okay, I need to do this drill in 3 seconds. Draw, bang, 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 bang. And then you got to shot call the shots and say, okay, well, where was the shot actually at? Where did I see this red dot on the target? Did I see where that was? What would my hits have been? If you're not doing that, and if you're not seeing those things, then you're not dry firing correctly. If you're just pointing your gun down yonder and pulling the trigger a bunch and then patting yourself on the back, that's fine, but it's just masturbating. There's nothing wrong with it. It just might make you go blind.
Well, I don't know. Steve Anderson, I mean, I think you'd agree with this. Steve Anderson makes the point of like you set these times to do something, and there's a point like that speed mode idea of, can you get the gun out? Can you actually get this thing done? I mean, don't care about the hits. The hits don't matter at that point.
What's the speed of?
Can you just show that you can actually get that gun out there and prove yourself mentally that this is possible in this time frame?
Right.
And then from there, you can actually come back and say, oh, I know I can make the time. Now let's work on getting those hits there. And I like the way that Steve talks about that. It's like, prove yourself that it actually is possible. It's like I always used to tell people, I can never shoot below a .20 split. Okay, well, what does it look like if you do? And so I like, okay, well, this is what it's going to feel like to actually run this speed. And I know splits aren't the thing in the world, but it's just this mental block of like telling yourself that, stop telling yourself you can't do something. Like, okay, figure out how to make it happen, and then get all the other things to work at the same time. I kind of like the way he talks about that.
I think dry fire, the one thing that I wish I could have at dry fire all the time was a system or like magazine or trigger system that would give me the same press as the cocked pistol the entire time as I pulled the trigger. That is so much more important.
That Glock mag that Steve Kosky had.
Yeah.
Remember that thing? That little clicky thing? That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, if you could have something like that that would literally give you the right press and the right weight for every single trigger pull, or the next best thing would be like that Glock thing, so the Glock trigger doesn't go dead, or having something in it slightly out of battery, so you can kind of press the trigger.
Right.
But generally, when
putting
you press
a piece of paper in it,
when you're pressing that though, you're not having the engagement of the parts. You're simply resisting the trigger return spring.
Yeah.
And having a system like that, like working on splits in dry fire, not for the sake of splits, but for the sake of hand tension as you have to rip that trigger as fast as you can. Because we all have the thing is like we start ripping the trigger and then like we realize that the gun's moving around because we're getting a lot of sympathetic movements in our other parts of our hand. And so we actually have to grip harder, run that trigger as fast as we can. And then at least that gets half of the problem taken away, because the other part of the problem comes from when we actually start feeling the gun recoil and we're like, oh, I need to grip harder. And so like having a system, at least because you can't have the recoil impulse correctly there, having a system that would at least allow you the gun to mechanically perform as it would as if it was all parts were engaged and cocked.
All right, from our friend Doug Dowski, what do you guys think about Dragons Cup this year? They're doing two drastically different this year. They're doing, basically two different things drastically this year. Let's see, had to get back there. Sorry about that. Red dot only divisions and no power factor. Much interesting. Joke's on you though. The match director is going to go and set all of his steels that only a 45 will take it down.
Wait, so no power factor means no minimum power factor? So somebody could show up with their 85 grain loads going 800 feet per second?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well, technically, any match that does not...
They're only going to do optic. They're only going to recognize optic divisions.
Any match that does not have a chronograph station and makes you chronograph doesn't have a power factor.
It's fair.
So as far as like optics only divisions, sure. Like I like production and revolver or whatever like that. Like you can get optics on revolvers now, so whatever. But like I kind of don't see the huge hiccup for a lot of that. The only thing I think that one division that would be kind of upset about that would be like the limited guys, but those guys, if there's no power factor, why are those guys going to show up shooting 40 anyway?
Battle of the Dot is what it's called.
Functionally, this comes back to a lot of things that if you want to shoot USPSA, you're going to go shoot a USPSA match. If you want to go shoot some other match, whatever it is, whether it's the not a cop match or the Great Plains Sectional Hit Factor Championship, which understand actually ran really, really well, where they have different divisions or whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, if you want to shoot USPSA, go shoot USPSA.
Correct.
If you are okay with, if you want to go shoot, let's call it an outlaw match, but a different style of match, just know that going there, you're going to have a different experience, but you have to be able to divorce yourself in your head that the match is going to be USPSA. And for some people, they just can't do it. It does not mean that the Hit Factor Championship matches that you're seeing pop up in Area 3 aren't going to be exceptionally well ran. Everything I've been told by people, they say that they run exceptionally well, or Jared's not a cop match. It's a different match.
Yeah.
I think if the challenge for a lot of people is if I'm going to spend, $1,000, $1,500 to travel to a location, I want to know that the rule book is established. It works.
Hold on a second. When people go to outlaw matches, they only want the USPSA rulebook, or will try to argue some sort of USPSA rulebook when the match is not effectively going their way.
Oh, of course. I mean, nobody's going to go on. I mean, very few people are ever going to argue to get a mic that they.
No one, no one,
Well, you
no
know
one,
what I'm
no
saying.
one gives a shit about painting the steel until they got the steel that didn't go over. Well,
Yeah,
this is my hit. Well, we
but
just
that,
we just
but
shoot it
that's
till
the,
they go over now at this
but that's
match,
the
bud.
thing, though. Is I mean, like USPSA. Disregard the politics of USPSA just for a moment. The rule book is actually really solid. It's a
Mhm.
very good rule book because what it's done that all of these other matches really are essentially either piggybacking on or ignoring is USPSA has gone through and it said, okay, we've had a rule book around for a very long time. And the reason that it is what it is because we've had a lot of like janky stuff that's came up that we've had that we're now trying to deal
Right.
with. And
They've
there's
had
value in that. There really
they've
is.
already they already ran through the problem, so now you don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's fantastic because it ultimately means that PCSL, Hit Factor, championship matches, Dragons Cup,
They get
they
a
can
leg
all stand on the
stand on
shoulders
it.
of
Yep.
giants to create a good and effective match. And functionally, they're all using USPSA ROs.
I don't know. I don't like these matches that do the cash prizes. Like, so
I don't
I'm
either.
going and reading the practice score for Dragons Cup, and I mean, it looks cool. It looks like it'll be fun, but at the same time, match fees $310, 12 stages, 300 round,
What is that? $25 a stage.
$25 a stage. If you get cash prizes, will be awarded to division stage winners. So you get $200 per stage win per division. And I don't know.
So
I'm just not the
From
biggest
my
so
from
fan
my
of
perspective, I
that.
always look at that like
Cool, I'm
from the
paying
idea.
for Christian Sailor
I'm
stuff.
correct,
yeah, I'm
correct.
paying for Kenny to get a new gun. So
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. And that's probably like, well, work harder, become better. It's like, okay, well, screw you. It's not going to happen.
So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those.
if
And
you well,
I'm
here's
not a big fan of this. That's a huge match fee too.
Yeah.
if you want.
I think the best, I mean, and I know that Jared, you're on here. I still think the best, outlaw style match I've ever shot still is the Nonacop match. I still think that's by far the most fun match. You get in the match price is very reasonable.
Yeah,
You get a shirt.
$80.
Yeah, $80. You get a shirt out of the deal if you're smart and actually register early, and you shoot 12 stages and you're out of there by 2:30, 3 o'clock. That's
Yep.
the I mean,
Yeah.
that's the best world, and everybody goes through. They have a fun time. It's fantastic. I
I mean,
like
you
that
can still get out
format.
of there at 3 or 4 o'clock with 300 and something, essentially newer shooters who do not shoot practical competition at the
Uh-huh.
COD match. I mean, it's the same match. Here's the funny thing. If you wanted to have a pay per win match with the best competition, then invite the best competition and have them pay $1,000 or $2,000 to show up, and the 20 of them can go try to beat each other and win cash prizes like it's the freaking Masters or something. But guess what? That wouldn't happen. People wouldn't do it. So if they want to have cash
Right.
prizes and have everyone else pay them, it's just like, well, we'll just join their Patreon and listen to their shitty podcast. Like, if we want to give
Right.
them money, we can give them money. But why should I be paying $310 to go to this place to literally just be handing people, like, I like Bob Crow. Bob Crow's a sweet guy. He's really nice. I'm
I was,
okay.
I mean, I was going to say I can't say anything about Bob Crow. Bob Crow is the best thing that ever
He's the best
happened to
thing that is.
USPSA.
Would I love to give Bob Crow like just like I would like to give Bob Crow money for Bob Crow hanging out with me and teaching me shooting and all that stuff.
Right?
That would be great.
How about we just set it up like this? If you want to do like cash prizes for stages like that, we'll set up 2 entries. The people who want to go and get in on the
cash
prize
Correct.
buy-in.
pool,
Yes.
cash buy, you guys can buy in, and all the rest of us will get in for like $100, $200 less.
Yeah.
And we'll all agree. We'll just agree. We're like, okay, I'm not going to get a prize table. I'm okay with that, but give it to me at this lesser
Well,
price.
that's the thing. If you
I
do
bet you
that,
the vast majority of people would
Well,
take that.
even
100%.
even the best shooters in the world know how finicky stage wins are.
Well, Ben Steger will tell you
well,
straight up. I mean, it's not about winning stages; it's about winning the match.
exactly. Unless the match win doesn't matter and you're just trying to win money, then it does just matter about getting
Right.
stage wins. And then you can go full ham on every single stage just to try to get stage wins. But I mean, I don't think people are going to try to do that because I'm sure
I
people
promise
care
you they
about
will.
winning Dragon's Cup.
if
But
I
I don't know.
if I sit there and I go like, oh, if I just got to shoot like a retard and I hook it up on 2 stages, this match is already paid for. I just won my money back because I'm already in the top 5% of the shooters here, and I don't care about a win. Like all it takes is gonna have is like one guy to have a bad first stage and be like, I'm out of it. Well, I'm just gonna go full ham now and see how much money I can collect. And it's just like, well, that's gonna give perverse incentives for having a quality match because then you're gonna have a winner and they're gonna go, you see who won Dragon's Cup? Well, XY person would have won it, but he had a bad stage, so he changed his entire tactic to make money. It's just like I don't. It's not great.
But
If you want
I
people to
mean,
gamble, like let people gamble with their own damn money.
and that's fine. I just have
let
to
me
say,
buy my Pokemon cards.
Dragon's Cup. I mean, we say all that, right? I like what Dragon's Cup's did. I mean, Billy's put together. I mean, time and time again, he's put together a very solid match. It's a good. I mean, he works really hard to make Dragon's Cup the match. It has functionally become nationals for a lot of people. In many aspects, it's better than nationals. And so I may not agree with the format of what's going on there, but it doesn't take away from all the effort that he's put in. Because I mean, he legitimately they all put together a really solid match, and you know that they're going to.
Right.
I don't want to like say it's only him, but I'm just trying to say like everybody that puts that match on, they really do try hard to put something together. And so I want to kind of like separate those two worlds, I guess I'd say.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure everything I've ever heard about the match is that it's great, but for me, as I don't really go to a whole lot of majors, and to see this, it's just like,
it doesn't move the needle enough to make you want to leave the state to do it.
Right. Where if they
agree.
showed stages or if they were showing saying you're going to win money isn't going to make me want to come to the match. If they show stages and they show like, check out this stage, this is what we're going to be shooting. We uploaded it into the acevr.com or whatever. Yeah. Look at this shit. This is awesome. You're going to be in a train shooting at cowboys and Indians or, something that's memorable and fun. If they showed a stage and say, this is the type of stages you're going to shoot. And if they showed me a stage that was wildly fun, I'd be like, all right, maybe I'm actually tempted to go to that. I'm actually
you hop in Ace.
Yeah.
You hop in Ace VR and you're like, this is just Forerunner from Halo. This is the Forerunner map from Halo.
I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. But
that's Halo, thing, though. Jared's gonna buy the plane ticket right then.
Exactly. But if they do something like that, I think that's how I would, if I was trying to get more people to come to a match, that's what I would do. I would say, hey guys, this is the type of shit we're shooting.
Yeah.
Whereas instead of saying like, hey guys, you can win some money if you come to my match, because people will be like, I'm not going to win. And then the one guy who will win, or the couple people who will win, maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, I can come up there and beat up on those folks and try to take all the money. And I don't know. I don't know what that incentivizes. Does that incentivize the high-end guys to come? Maybe. I don't know.
It disincentivizes me because I mean, it means that I'm now paying for. I'm paying for Kenny's gun.
Well, if you're gonna snake draft, like if you're gonna have a prize table based off of winning, then at least have some sort of snake draft where like, the first. I would say that the top like 3 guys or 4 guys in their division get to walk, or fourth or overall or whatever, I'd say division wise, get to walk the prize table in some order, like having equal prizes on the prize table for each of the divisions. Let 1, 2, 3, and 4 go up from their division, pick off their prize table, and then go from the bottom of the order or have it random from there. Like you could do something like that or cash prizes that way. But I think the payment for only the top individuals on a stage is probably not the best way to do it, but it's probably the only way that they could financially incentivize those people to show up and try to win and still come out ahead and make, obviously incentivize them enough to make it worth it.
I heard some people talk about this and I thought it was such a clever idea, but they said, like if they were a gun manufacturer, say I was Glock and I was going to sponsor USPSA Nationals, I would say, okay, well, I'm going to sponsor you guys, but I'm going to put a stipulation in the contract that says that the guns that I give they will go to they will not go on the prize table in terms of like, match placement. This Glock 17 is going to go to to number 63, and this Glock 34 is going to go to 76 or whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to actually put them random because statistically speaking, I mean, you're going to get the hands in a gun you're going to get the gun into the hands of somebody who might just use it, or
Right.
he'd be more excited, as opposed to, because we all see it every time there's a nationals. Like shortly after on Facebook, there's like, hey, who wants to buy all these guns that were on the prize table at nationals?
Right.
Yeah.
On
That
Brian
sucks.
Enos, there's all these posts by Max Leogrande selling stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I ain't got nothing against Max for doing that. I mean, it's what they all do. But if I'm an advertiser,
But that's
I
what
want my
everybody
stuff.
does.
Yeah, I want my stuff to go to somebody who potentially is going to keep it. I mean, if I give
And the
a
guys on the
Vortex
high, the
Defender
guys on the
to
high end are.
Tommy, I know that Tommy's probably going to play with it, and he's
It,
going to use it.
Is that a shitty stock service pistol? Give it.
hey, 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 hey! The Springfield Echelon has some good quality about it.
Give it.
Yeah, that's the one deal too. Is like in a lot of the higher ends are already contractually obligated to not even touch or look or take a picture with that gun. So-
Wow.
Right.
Let's see, from Ron Davison. Polymer coated versus copper plated bullets. What are the pros and cons?
Cost,
Well,
polymer coated is cost. Cost.
Polymer coated is 100% cost. You are paying.
Well,
you're
and
not paying for that.
and bullet design, because it's a lot easier of a process to change the shape of a bullet and coat it with a polymer coating than it is to have a different type of shape and then to get the copper, not the copper, but the plating, whatever plating is the du jour on that bullet, to get that on there. So
Tommy, that's really it. The thing about polymer, whatever it is, it always comes down to cost. That's what it is. It allows you to shoot more.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't we use lead bullets anymore? Lead bullets are infinitely cheaper, and lead bullets absolutely work because they're smoky,
they're dirty,
and
they're hazardous to your
dirty.
health.
They're really not chill. And so somebody came along and says, what if we go and coat these things? And excuse me.
What if we cover them in chocolate?
Yeah, it's kind of like a spoonful of sugar, right? It helps the medicine go down. No, but I mean, and that's really, but along the way, I mean, is a polymer coated bullet as accurate as a copper or full metal jacket? Yeah, I think it can for our needs, for the speeds that we're going to be doing. Now, this is all talking handguns, but I like polymer coated bullets. I've been shooting gallant bullets since forever, and before that, it was another company and so I like them. But if I took some full metal jacket bullets out and I shot them, and then I shot them next to the gallants, and I was like, wow, that actually, the smoke difference is really, really noticeable. So if you're shooting indoors, a jacketed bullet is actually kind of nice. Even if you're shooting in a place that has really good ventilation, you're still putting a lot of crap into the air with a polymer bullet.
Yep.
And so I think there's good and bad, but for our game and our purpose and what we do, it always comes down to cost. It's just a cost factor. It's the Blue Bullets, Veggie Head, all these companies, Gallant, they make great product, every single one of them. But I mean, do they compare to a copper or a full metal jacket?
Yeah,
they're cheaper.
In theory, the jacketed / plated bullets will be, quote unquote, in theory, more accurate.
A full metal jacket stands head and shoulders above a plated.
But
like
in practice, for us, it's like like what Robert's saying. Does it matter? I don't know.
What? Actually, there is one location where you really don't want to use coated, and that's guns with comps.
Right.
And
open guns.
Yeah, open guns. For every one person that says, I run blue bullets or coated bullets or whatever out of my open gun, there's like 30 others that are like, no, I will never do it because it just gums everything up. It's so much dirtier. It's not worth the effort. Pretty much everybody who's serious about open guns, or basically comps and things like that, they're all running a jacketed bullet, whether it's a copper plated or a full metal jacket. I think that's just what you have to do.
Well, and here's the deal: like the almost the more arcane weapon you use with the lower velocity gives you the ability to have less and less of a coating. Like you could get lead semi-wad cutters and shoot them out of 45 caliber pistols all the live long day. Are they going to be accurate? Hell yeah, it's going to be a freaking tack driver. You can see some of those 38 loads coming out of some of those, revolvers. They can be super accurate. You get a 6-inch revolver, dial in the sights, and shoot lead bullets all day long, and it's going to be fantastic. And a coated bullet's not much more different after that. What brings us into more accuracy is the velocity that we're trying to push them out of to make power factor, or for the sensation that we want them to be at. I mean, generally, accuracy is the ability for it to come out the barrel, the gun to stay in lock, and for them to hit to the same reference point at the same time. And a full metal jacket bullet holds together better while going down those velocities out of the barrel, and will generally have the pretty similar velocity and impact at the same spot. It's just you can make lead bullets do a lot of things. It takes a lot more effort to do, and the consistency is going to have to be there for the velocity that you're trying to push them out with. So that's why, like, generally, the better luck you would always have with the coated bolts was the heavier weights. The lighter weight bolts, like the 115 grains and stuff like that, and the velocities you're trying to push them out, and even
They're
plated
more
bullets.
temperamental.
And plated bullets are the same way. They're more temperamental in the lighter weights. The nice thing about a full metal jacket bullet is you get to buy. You could oddball some, like, what the hell is this shit? It's like, well, it's French 105 grain 9mm, and you could be like, all right, it'll shoot. Like, I'll just move the dot to where it's impacting. The shit will shoot. It'll be fine. Um, but on the lead coated bolts, like the 147s and something like that, and the 135s, that was the sweet spot for velocity sensitivity and accuracy that you were going to get there. And so that's the deal. All bullet construction is velocity based, pressure and velocity based.
All right, 2 more questions. Let's see, from Sebastian Munoz. I miss production, particularly the strategy planning of reloads. Will production ever make a comeback? No, it won't. Moving on. Andy Erickson.
Shoot single stack.
Yeah. Honestly, go shoot single stack if you want that. From Andy Erickson, if CO ditched the production gun list requirement and single action pistols without magwells were allowed, would CO become an all race gun division, or would Canex, PDPs, Glocks, Shadow 2 still be as heavily used as they are now? Don't say it can't happen, Robert. It absolutely can. Well, number one, Andy, who is my very good friend and apparently like a brother from another mother, because we pretty much do everything. We've done everything together, except for that thing. Not
Pride
gay.
Month. Pride Month. Tell him you did it. Tell him you did it. It's Pride Month. You better be happy about it, even if it's a lie.
Wrong. There's nothing wrong with two friends sharing a little friction, Robert.
Especially in June.
It was cold and we were hunting, and we only had one sleeping bag.
Then we got glued together somehow.
It was warm. We were properly dressed. We had a good meal, and we were on a couch. What do you want from me?
All I know is that I saw a bunch of some primed 10mm cases come up at one of my favorite places to buy bullets and things and other projectiles from, and I got on the phone and I called Andy right away, and now he has a bunch of 10mm cases that are primed at a very, very good price. So, just for you, Andy. Could it happen? If CO ditched production gun list requirement, well, if CO ditched that, I mean, that would then allow every other bougie like aftermarket, because all these small gun makers, they're not making the 500 guns that are required to be on the production list. So you'd see all those guys come in, but I just don't think that the 2011 is the be all end all dominant must have gun, that, or else it's absolutely worthless, that it was 10, 15 years ago. I think these new guns, the Canex, PDPs, Shadow 2s, I think they're putting out good stuff.
Well, they're good stuff too, and I don't think people would shift back over, because people like being in divisions that justify them buying another gun and having that gun set up that way. I mean, like, if you allow people more liberal rule set, like a magwell and single action guns, you see them move to the more liberal rule set. Like, oh, now I can have a magwell and I can have this on it, and this gives me an excuse to buy another gun. Rarely do you see people ever go back to the gun they used to have in the older division, a la production.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think it's like people are going to gravitate towards the thing that makes them happy, and I mean, over time, you get to a point where you're good enough with the thing, and the gun ceases to be the limiting factor. And if you happen to like a Canic or a Shadow 2 or whatever, then, and you realize that the gun isn't what's holding you back, then, I mean, obviously we like to chase whatever fancy new girl is flashing her breast at us, but at the same time,
Oops.
exactly. But at the same time, I mean, it's nice to go home and realize that, you've got this thing that's working, and why would you mess with it?
Yep.
The sock's all right.
Yeah. So there you go.
And when that one wears out, I got another one just like it. So thanks for downloading, listening, and subscribing. And we wish you all the best Sunday that you can possibly have, and possibly a good Monday. And if you don't die by Tuesday,
gayest month you can have.
Oh.
I'm gonna move to a Muslim country just for this month.
Everyone needs to rent Subarus this month.
No, because then they end up pegging Tommy.
Then they end up hitting me, and then like, hey, swap
Tommy.
Swap paint. Swap paint with a Subaru this month is your mandate from the PARAcast. So for Robert Wyatt and Jared Stepp, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little rear-ended tugboat called the PARAcast.
It's a big game, man.
Doot doot.
Yeah.